Hello, welcome to AP Daily. My name is Dan Bonarigo. I teach at Riverside Brookfield High School in Riverside, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. This video is on topic 1.4, identifying and correcting errors. In this video, we'll learn that errors are an inevitable part of programming, but understanding the different types of errors is essential to being a proficient programmer. So specifically, what are we going to learn? Well, just one learning objective here, very simple. For errors in an algorithm or program, identify the error. So we want to be able to identify an error. So there are basically four types of errors, right? We're going to talk about how a logic error is a mistake in an algorithm or program that causes it to behave incorrectly or unexpectedly. A syntax error is a mistake in a program where the rules of the programming language are not followed. A runtime error is a mistake in a program that occurs during the execution of a program. Programming languages define their own runtime errors. And then an overflow error is an error that occurs when a computer attempts to handle a number that is outside of the defined range of values. All right, so let's look at some examples. All right, so errors and programming, they go hand in hand. It is basically not possible. It's basically impossible to write a program and not have an error at least once, if not 5, 10, 100, 1,000 times, right? Depending on how big the program is, right? So programmers are constantly running into errors when they program. In fact, it is an expectation that errors are a part of the programming process. And so if we know that it's going to be a part of the process, then we want to make sure that we are prepared to handle errors, right? So proficient programmers can identify errors as one of the following types. So you might have a logic error, you might have a syntax error, you might have a runtime error, or you might have an overflow error. And so, like I said, proficient programmers can identify. So now we need to understand what each of these types of errors are. So let's discuss the different errors. All right, so the first one, a logic error. Well, what is a logic error? Well, this error is caused by the programmer making a mistake in the algorithm, which causes the program to behave unexpectedly. For example, the following code segment is intended to display the letter grade that corresponds to a percentage, right? So I'm going to show you an algorithm here, and we're going to kind of talk about what the algorithm is intended to do, but then what does it actually do? All right, so we're going to let the variable grade represent the percentage. All right, so here's our algorithm. So grade is going to be assigned to the input value. So the user is going to input some percentage. Okay. Now we're going to ask if the grade is greater than 89, then we're going to display A. All right. If the grade is greater than 79, we're going to display B. If the grade is greater than 69, we're going to display C. If the grade is greater than 59, we're going to display D. And otherwise, if it's none of those, then we're going to display F, right? So this algorithm was written, right, to display a letter grade, right? Pretty simple. Now, this is a common logic error, right? Many beginning programmers have difficulty recognizing this error. Can you find it? So go ahead, pause the video and look at this algorithm and spend a little time, think about, can you figure out what logic error is in this program? All right, well, were you able to find it? Well, an A grade, such as 90, would display A as intended, right? Because we said if grade is greater than 89, display A. But it would also display B, C, and D as well. Is that true? Well, think about it. If grade is greater than 89, display A. That is true. But this is also true, right? Grade is also greater than 79, right? 90 is greater than 79. So B would also display. But 90 is also greater than 69. So C would display. 90 is also greater than 59. So D would display. Now, F would not display because the if grade is greater than 59 was true, so the else would not execute. So this is a problem. Why? Because this thing does not do what it was intended to do, right? Now, what if I plugged in like 60, right? This thing would look as though it worked exactly as it should, right? What if I displayed like 52? This thing would display F exactly as it was intended to do, all right? So that's a logic error. All right, here's another type of error, a syntax error. Very common error, right? And this is just a mistake when a program makes a typo or a programmer makes a typo, or writes some code, or oftentimes forgets to write some code that doesn't follow the rules of the language. Syntax errors cause the program to fail to run or compile, right? So when you hit run or compile, it doesn't work, right? And common examples of this are forgetting to include a colon or a semicolon where it's required, depending on the program language, parentheses, curly braces, depending on the program language, indentation. Some languages require indenting in certain places, right? Quotes around certain things, depending on the programming language. The definition of a variable, right? Or a function, or something like that, right? All of these are syntax errors, all right? Now, take a look at this program. All right. There are 4 syntax errors in this code segment. Can you find them? Go ahead, pause the video and see if you can find the 4 syntax errors. All right, were you able to find them? All right, so there's one, missing the close parentheses after 89. So notice I have if, open parenthesis, grade greater than 89, but then I don't have a close parenthesis. All right, what about the next one? Missing the close curly brace. So on that if, okay, grade greater than 79 should have a closed curly brace after the display B. All right. The next one, missing the closed quotes after the C, right? That is another syntax error. And then the last one is missing the open curly brace on the else for the display F. All right. So those are the 4 syntax errors. Okay. And those are just very easy to forget, but they will make a program fail to run or compile. All right, the next error is a runtime error. So a runtime error is when a program fails in the midst of running. So you click run, the program looks like it's working, but then the program crashes, right? Crashing is a very common word when we refer to a runtime error, right? This error is commonly referred to as a bug. So the key to identifying a runtime error is that the program runs or compiles initially, but fails and cannot complete its process. So sometimes you run a program and it doesn't have a runtime error, and then other times it does. And so you'll have to try to figure out why that is occurring. A runtime error may result from dividing by 0, right? So if you're doing a program that that uses division, right? Maybe a particular case may divide by 0, or inappropriate entered data type. Okay. Sometimes if a user enters a number, whether it should be entering a word, right, that is going to be an inappropriate entered data type. Many other advanced possibilities. There are a lot of different runtime errors that different programs could have. All right, so let's take a look at this algorithm once again. What type of user entry could cause a runtime error in this code segment? So pause the video and see if you can think about what user entry would cause a runtime error. All right, so what did you come up with? Well, if the user were to enter a non-numerical character, most programming languages would result with a runtime error when trying to compare a word to the number 89, right? So if I enter the letter A when it asked me for a number, right? That's going to be a problem when trying to compare the letter A to the number 89. All right. Many programming languages require programmers to specify the data type. So you would say, are we entering a number? Are we entering a decimal? Are we entering a word? Are we entering, whatever, right? And so a runtime error would occur when the user enters an inappropriate data type. All right. Then the last error is an overflow error. An overflow error is when a programmer is required to perform a calculation that is outside of defined range of values. Due to memory allocation constraints that programming languages require, certain values are too big to calculate and or display. All right, so here's a really simple example. Imagine you have a calculator that has 4 display digits. What is the largest value this calculator could display? Well, very easy, 9,999. But what would happen if we tried to calculate 100 times 100? Well, 10,000 is the result, but that is not in the range of values that this particular calculator can display. So this would result with a overflow error. All right. So what should we take away from this AP Daily video? Well, we should understand how to identify an error in an algorithm or program. And we should understand these essential knowledge statements. Thank you for joining this AP Daily video.